lined up? Are you flush on that outside, that 2x4? On the outside edge?
This'll rotate. This will brace.
Yeah, we can get it to the point where it will.
Let's come back here. Okay, I'm good here.
Ready?
I'm good right there. Go. You want to give me a 3.5 and 5.5?
This theater is 100 years old now, I think around 1910. Sheridan was the largest city in Wyoming. The mines were in full swing. There were 7 operating theaters in the community, and it's the one left in town. We like to think we'd preserved something of real historical importance.
The Save the WYO board were very convincing of our city fathers that this could be a landmark downtown. Many people talk about how wonderful our little downtown is, and I think it's true that the WYO Theater Performing Arts Center has become a real cornerstone for this downtown area. So their pledge to the city really has come to fruition.
It's the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Orpheum Theater, which has gone through several iterations.
Before the WYO, it was a movie house. The movie house would only have one movie in a community of only, at that time, about 13,000 couldn't make a living.
When the movie theater closed, a group of people here decided, well, we want to preserve this because it's been here for, at that point, 60, 70 years.
The idea for revitalizing it and making it the kind of community resource it's turned out to be was Lynn Simpson's in 1982. It was just this decimated interior, and Lynn spent $5,000 of her own money to take an option, and we had 90 days to raise $120,000 to buy the theater in its then condition. She raised about $27,000. The city of Sheridan was then persuaded, and together we bought the facility. Over the course of about 7 years, which is what it took to rebuild it, the Femme Finales and the Raisins, led primarily by Sophie Pellissier, did wonderful work in inspiring the fundraising efforts, soliciting nickels and dimes and anything anybody wanted to give.
Winter is gone, spring has arrived, it's time to celebrate and have some fun. Tonight, there's an air of excitement, a sense of anticipation. So sit back, relax, open your eyes. You have arrived at the WYO show.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance.
I know. You should see what's on it. We have balloons and there are raisins for each one.
Sophie was a theater major, and she had this intimate knowledge of every song in every musical ever produced. Everyone had to move the same finger at the same moment.
It was until we got involved.
That's true. But she kept everything fast-paced, and there was a lot of comedy. But without Barbara, we would never have been able to pull it off because we were not vocalists. We had to change key constantly, and Barbara would just swish over to a different key till we could do it.
You know, that really was the best thing. That's the highlight of my whole music career.
Yeah.
Those Femme Finale shows.
We put on these wonderful, wonderful shows, but I don't think quite enough money was being raised. And so you told Sophie, you need to add men.
You were the ones who made the show because everybody in town came to watch you all
Yeah.
be as ridiculous as possible.
And we didn't let 'em down, did we?
The audience just ate that up.
Speaking of raisins.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah, that's exactly what you looked like.
Yeah, this was our ideal.
You came up with the idea of telling the audience, you know, if you can't afford $500 or if you whatever, how about $100 a year for 5 years? And so this idea of pledging, it was successful and the money began to come in. Within that year of you guys joining, enough money was raised to get the bare bones of the WYO Theater open.
I remember that so vividly because that was so exciting to me. We had worked so hard for that. And I was the one who led the gals out onto the stage. I was on the end. And I thought, oh, I am the first person to set foot on the WYO stage. And
That's great.
I still remember that moment thinking, this is great.
I get teary. But you know, that last night, oh dear. It was just so sophisticated, and you were all so elegant.
It was just an old movie theater in 1989. Pretty dark. There weren't any good lights in the ceiling. And there were no wings. You would run up the stairs and all huddle together, waiting to come out on stage. It's that way on both sides, and it's changed so much.
You don't tell anyone we're here. So I'll just turn on the sardines. I've forgotten the sardines. No, I haven't forgotten the sardines. What's he saying?
When we're finishing the construction, there's a guy named Frog. I've long since forgotten his real name, but he came out here from San Francisco, and he was a theater designer. He could walk down an 18-foot step ladder in cowboy boots backwards. He said, "You want me to tell you how to make this place work? It's easy. Just get the kids in there. That's all you need. Get those school buses lined up along that side street."
My name is Tammy Davis,
I'm Richard Davis.
and we're Tandem Productions
Still.
for 25 years.
Tammy and Richard Davis are like my theater mom and dad. I have been a lady in waiting, a child something. And Annie, I was Miss Hannigan.
At the beginning, we did everything. There was some times in the WYO that they didn't have a technical director, maybe even those first years. So we were hanging the lights, and I mean, we did it all.
In the early stages, we'd have these auditions, and 100 kids would show up. I think initially we probably didn't realize the benefits. You could see these kids grow up in front of your eyes. You know, this year, is that the same kid who was last year? My God, it's just, he or she's just, you know. And so we began to appreciate, I guess, the longer we were doing it, that it had value to those kids way beyond what we probably imagined when we started out.
What is so amazing about our community is that we give kids multiple opportunities to shine. For a kid, that can really make or break how they turn out, how they feel about life, how they feel about themselves. It's not just about the act of performance, but it's also about the confidence that it builds. I feel like a kid who can go on stage has developed a confidence in themselves that they will take no matter what job that they have. I've always thought when I go into a job interview, this is just like an audition, this is just like a performance, like how can you become a character to better suit this? But I feel like that's real. I mean, I feel like in some ways it was training for real life. And I mean, I am a teacher, I care more about kids than almost anything. And I feel like you can tell when a kid has received some sort of spark and how it's going to take them into the future, and that is enormous. I also see a lot of kids who don't feel like they have that spark, who don't feel like there's something in this community for them, and it's wonderful to get to introduce them to something like the WYO.
I remember feeling like I had found my place. So once the seed was planted, that was it. I wanted everything to do with it. The lights on the stage, and I loved the smell of the WYO theater. I loved that feeling before you performed. And it was just, there was nothing like it. And then you got with a group of kids who felt that way as well. You're like, oh, these are my people. I'm still a performer. I've been able to make a lifestyle out of it.
As years passed, Tandem alum, we started pulling them in to be co-directors and directors, and we'd step back. It was so much a part of their growing up, and they wanted to keep going, and so we just kept going until we could find a way so it could keep going without us.
And then, one of our alums shows up, Grace Cannon, and comes back to town after a good deal of training in theater herself, and she gets together with Aaron Butler, and they made a proposal to her.
And Grace is...
I thought it was great. Couldn't have thought of anybody better. Grace had been through the whole thing.
She was a tandem.
Yeah,
kid.
I think she was from
8
to 15. She was in every year. So.
My own daughter, Grace, loved this place, and the chance to be here and on that stage was really an important part of her life. After going away to college, getting a master's in applied theater in New York, working in Chicago in the American Theater Company, she's come back to Sheridan, is now working in the WYO Theater, investing a great deal of time, energy, and imagination into something called WYO Play, which for her started 30 years ago.
It's on the wrong side. That's okay, we'll fix it. Sing for me, even if it's like just silliness, like right now it's just like, yeah, we want it to be as fun as possible. Just have some fun.
My first role in a play was as a dancing tree, followed closely, I think, by a singing cow. There was nowhere to go but up from there. WYO Play is an education initiative. It's a series of grassroots educational programs that are aimed at people of all ages, all across the community, to be able to get involved with the performing arts. I love working at the WYO because we can envision the place that we want to live in, and that place, if we want it to be innovative and caring and collaborative, then we can put all of that into our programs, and we can feel good about the fact that that's going to come back. Community arts is really important because it doesn't say to the people in its sphere, this is what's good, this is what's bad. It says, we want to bring you in and we want you to be a part of making art, and we want you to be a part of appreciating it. And we're going to do that here in our space, but we're also going to go out into the community and find new ways and new places to be creating and connecting.
This choir existed for 2 decades plus as a mixed group. It was only in 2019 when Stephanie Zakowski, my co-director, kind of tossed the idea, what if we shift to a boys' choir? I was like, no way. How are we gonna do that? Because at the time we had 6 boys and 55 girls. We do face a realistic challenge of getting boys to come sing. Boys' choirs themselves are dying out. The American Boys' Choir, which was the biggest one in our country, they shut down. We made the switch, and we went from 6 boys to 27 in one day. The setting was all of a sudden more secure. The boys took the risk, and we have soared ever since. We were able to take them to Italy last year. We're going to Hawaii next year. We had the privilege of singing at the high school all-state conference. And it was the first time that I'm aware of that a boys group has performed at a state-level concert in Wyoming. And they crushed it, and the crowd went crazy. And all through the conference for the next 2 days, all people were saying is, are you kidding me? Here? This is the kind of thing you see in Germany. This is the kind of thing you see in Spain. And we're doing it here. And there's a reason, I think, why we are the only boys' choir in this part of the world. Not every community has a place like this, doing things like this for kids' sake. Getting boys through the door has been one of our greatest successes. It's special, and man, I'm gonna fight for it, and we're gonna keep on going. We're gonna recruit. We're gonna use this as the vehicle to drive positive change. Because if I could do this for the rest of my life, I think that'll be a life very, very well lived.
Main streets across the country are struggling. You look at Sheridan's Main Street, it's thriving. I think you'll find that one of the common denominators for communities that have been successful around the country is the investment that they've made in the arts and the strength of the arts community.
It's not often you find a city that's under 20,000 people that has a facility like the WYO Theater. The fact that it takes up half a block now, the fact we have 2 different theaters, we have all this space with all these classes, only lends credence to this as a cultural center, as a learning center. And I think that's been the vision of the board members and the management.
I kind of got a master's degree in how to be on a board from Richard Davis. And I think, people like that, the Cannons, all of these people that have been involved, in evolving the WYO into what it is. They made a major investment in their lives to make sure, that this place, evolved into what it is today.
I wouldn't say it's a struggle because people really always step up when the WYO is in need. It is a lot of work as a board member for both the WYO Theater Board and the WYO Foundation Board. But it's a labor of love. We have a board made up of not only people who are artistically inclined, but business people, philanthropic people. And that's so great because everybody brings something different to the table, and it's all so necessary to make it work.
I've been with them over 20 years, and I'd never even been in the WYO Theater. When they called and asked me to be on their board, I was terrified. Yeah, I didn't know Fetch from Go Sick 'em about putting on a play. Our lights are on for 3 stories high now. We have a 2nd-story city around the WYO Theater. The building that the Black Box Theater was in, Kim donated that to the WYO Theater. The Perkins building was called. The other side was the Hallmark store. I went into partnerships with the college, and me and Paul Young quit-claimed the whole thing to the city for $1, which made the city the owner of those buildings, and we were now eligible for educational grants and municipal grants. And I'm just, an old cowboy.
It's just astounding to see what, if you look at the list of artists who've played at the WYO Theater, it's absolutely stunning. And so it would be very easy, I think, as a production facility for it to kind of like be the ivory, tower on the hill, but it's not that way. The WYO has always been flexible because it needs to be of service, to all, stratums of the society and all facets of the culture. Like that. And, it's shown its ability to be able to do that over the years.
I've always thought of Sheridan as a real participatory town. Big cities are places where people could go to spectate. Going to an NBA basketball game, it's pretty neat, but you're just spectating. In Sheridan, you actually can get on the stage. It's a community that really invites you to participate.
I always want to be growing. I always want to get better, and I want to make other people better. I directed a couple shows at the Carriage House that were really I just kind of knew what I was getting into. And with this one, I was like, dude, I think I'm getting good at this. I think I can educate people enough to put on something so technical. I picked the show to challenge everyone. It was a different experience. And yeah, of course, I got all the support that I needed. Everybody helped so much and was so willing. We do it for the love of the game, because it's something that we actually need in our lives.
The WYO Theater is what it is today because since the very beginning, it has been a place where people have vision for what the future can be and what this place can bring and what this place can mean.
The WYO Theater is ingenious. And why every single community in Wyoming doesn't have one is beyond me. It lights up the downtown at night. There's a movement around it. People are coming down for dinner. They're coming down to shop.
Any given late afternoon, you're driving by, you're seeing kids running in and out of this place. The growth of Sheridan is dependent upon people who want to live here, want to move here. When families are thinking of relocating somewhere else and bringing their businesses, a place like the WYO Theater plays an outsized share in the decision they make. Other towns have parks, other towns have schools, but they don't have a resource like the WYO Theater.
I really feel as though the restoration of the WYO Theater has really been the catalyst for the creation and the development of the arts over the last basically 4 decades. Since then, we've looked at Sheridan becoming really, I think, the premier arts community in the state of Wyoming and in the region.
Our idea with this theater was not only was it a wonderful place that great art could be presented in all of its different forms, but that it would become a kind of center for a downtown revitalization. And so it became just as important from an economic development standpoint as it was from an art standpoint. It became the anchor, really, of downtown Sheridan.
I've been a supporter from the very beginning. What could be more pleasant than realizing that you're a vital part in the community? What could be better and doing the best you can to keep it up? And in order to keep it up, in order to create the continued sense of both originality and also providing what is basically a learning experience of being a human being. And this is it. For the 70 years I've been here, it's just been remarkable.